Good evening and welcome to Kini News. Here are today's top stories. In fact, we're beginning with the topmost story of all. The MPs you voted for, paid by your tax ringgit, spent valuable time discussing one terribly important issue. And by important issue, I mean Timah. Some of the things that were said today in the Dewan Rakyat were outright just strange.
PKR Selangor Batu MP Rusna Aloi is the latest lawmaker to weigh in on the controversial whiskey brand Timah. She told Parliament today that the name and imagery used was confusing and sends the wrong message.
Ataupun yang Timah ini, tidak bolehkah kita panggil apa jenama yang lain, mines, the mines ke, apa ke, ya. Lagi satu, ia merupakan satu perkara yang tidak bagus untuk wanita sebab dibayangkan Timah itu adalah wanita Melayu, Kak Timah, Mak Timah, Makcik Timah. Apabila kita minum whisky itu seolah-olah kita meminum wanita Melayu. Terima kasih.
According to the whiskey producer Wine Park, the Timah brand is named after the Malay word for tin ores. The label also features a photo of Captain Tristram Speedy, an English officer during the British colonization of Malaya who is seen sporting a thick beard and a skull cap. The Timah whiskey brand has been a hot topic, with conservatives claiming that it either confuses or insults the Malays and Muslims.
Aside from that, other MPs were rather logical today, and they seem to agree that the whole matter has just been blown out of proportion.
Wine Park Corporation, the manufacturer of the local whiskey Timah, has agreed to consider changing its brand name and image on the whiskey bottle. This comes after conservative groups claim the name and label insulted Islam and confused Muslims. Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Minister Alexander Nandalingi said the agreement was reached during an interministerial meeting with Wine Park's representatives as well as officers from the Islamic Development Department, Malaysia. Meanwhile, in Parliament today, Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Deputy Minister Rasul Wahid said the matter had been blown out of proportion by those with political interests.
Saya setuju dengan apa yang dibangkitkan, dicelah oleh kekanda saya daripada Sa'lam. Berkaitan bahawa isu ini sebenarnya digembar-gemburkan ataupun disensasikan untuk kepentingan politik. Saya amat setuju. Jadi kita harap selepas pada ini kita akan dapat melahirkan ataupun mewujudkan satu masyarakat yang matang, masyarakat yang berhemah dan masyarakat yang bertanggungjawab.
Pengarang MP Azlina Othman Said also interjected to call for reason.
Yang berhormat Timbalan Menteri, saya rasa isu yang saya dengar ni memang kena-mengena. Sebab pada dulu kita kecil-kecil makan A&W ada hot dog. Lepas ada corny dog. Jadi macam mana anak saya suka makan hot dog, takkan saya nak kata tak boleh makan anjing panas. Jadi saya rasa ni yang penting lah. Kita kena didik masyarakat kita memikirkan secara lebih logik. Terima kasih.
Setuju dengan pengerang, setuju dengan apa yang dikatakan oleh sahabat tadi. Sebenarnya kita tak mahu ianya jadi satu presiden. Lepas pada ni keluar pula root beer contoh. Ni mabuk root beer. Jadi ini mana tidak akan ada kesudahan.
With Timah taking up so much space in Parliament and on this bulletin among other places, one MP is furious that the government is not addressing more important issues.
DAP lawmaker Dr. Kelvin Yee has slammed the federal government for giving in to extreme rhetoric and sentiments pushed by certain groups over the name of local whiskey brand Timah. He said the government has other important matters to resolve, including the country's economy. The Bandar Kuching MP said the extreme rhetoric perpetrated by certain quarters over the controversy surrounding the name was an insult to the intelligence of any sensible man or woman. He also said the issue has been blown out of proportion, so much so it has provoked religious and racial controversy. He added that this sets a dangerous precedent in the country where mere product names can be said to confuse any segment of the community and thus must be changed. He said such a precedent would make Malaysia a laughingstock of the international community. The issue surrounding the Timah whiskey brand started when a portal named NegaraMerdeka.com claimed that the name Timah was similar to the name of Prophet Muhammad's daughter, Fatimah.
UMNO is gearing up for an all-out battle in Malacca, and it is going to be life or death according to them. They believe that the state election will be a reflection of how they are going to do in the 15th general election.
The Malacca state election has been described as a life and death situation for UMNO.
Dengan orang nak melihat kita gugur. Dengan orang berzaman-zaman nak lihat UMNO Barisan Nasional ini ditewaskan. Maka perlulah kita berhati-hati, perlu kita berstrategi, perlu kita menggunakan segala taktikal yang ada untuk kita menghadapi dan mengharungi pilihan raya negeri Melaka ini.
UMNO Deputy President Muhammad Hassan said many wish to see the political party buried in the state election. However, according to him, UMNO will never allow it to happen. Muhammad said the state election will be a reflection of the 15th general election, thus making it a matter between life and death. At the launch of the BN Melaka state election machinery, he added that if it is not managed properly, death awaits the party. The Election Commission has set November 8th as a nomination, while the voting will be held on November 20th.
We'll take a quick break. When we're back, we will find out how Barisan Nasional violated COVID-19 prevention SOPs that were set by the very government they're in. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back after a word from our sponsors.
Shellfish, red meat, and beer. If you love indulging in these foods, you may end up with high uric acid level in your blood. These foods consist high level of purine, a substance that will eventually break down into uric acid and be excreted through our urine. It is recommended that the amount of dietary purines should be kept between 600 to 1000 milligrams per day. Having too much uric acid in your blood can cause attacks of gout. It can also cause kidney stones and blockage in the kidney. The crystallization of the excessive uric acid in your blood can be eased by reducing purine-rich food to only 100 to 150 milligrams daily, maintaining a healthy lifestyle, and consuming urinary alkalinizer like Ural. It consists of sodium bicarbonate, citric acid, and sodium citrate that increases the urinary pH and solubility of uric acid to prevent crystallization. Best of all, it's lemon-flavored and sugar-free. Ural, effective urinary alkalinizer. Neutralize your uric acid problem now.
Welcome back. No means no, but Barisan Nasional didn't quite listen, and the party has now been compounded by the Health Ministry.
The Health Ministry has issued a compound to Barisan Nasional for holding a program in Kuala Lumpur last night to launch its election machinery for the Melaka state polls. In a Facebook post, the Kepong Health Office said it issued a compound under Act 342 to BN for violating SOPs for Phase 4 of the National Recovery Plan on organising social events. Based on Malaysia Kini's observation at the event, it was attended by at least several hundred BN leaders and members. The campaign period for the Melaka state election will begin on November 8th until polling day on November 20th. As the election was being held during the pandemic, Health Minister Khairy Jamaluddin had issued a ban between October 25th and November 27th against any activities, gatherings, and social events related to the state election. It is believed that BN was trying to get around the rule by changing the venue from the Melaka International Trade Centre in Aikro to the World Trade Centre in Kuala Lumpur to launch its election machinery.
Remember the story about the police who set up a disco at a police station? While they're facing disciplinary action, it looks like they won't be facing any criminal charges.
The 4 policemen caught partying in a police station in Bangi 3 months ago will not face criminal charges pressed against them. However, Selangor Police Chief Arjunaidi Muhammad said they are facing disciplinary actions. They include the sub-inspector in charge of the Bangi police station, who initially tested positive for marijuana when the station was raided by a team from the Bukit Aman Federal Police Headquarters. Bukit Ahmad Integrity and Standard Compliance Department Director Asri Ahmad later told Malaysia Kini that the decision to not press criminal charges against the suspects was made by the Deputy Public Prosecutor. According to him, a second urine test on the sub-inspector had returned negative. Asri had also told Malaysia Kini that the 4 have also been issued compounds for violating COVID-19 standard operating procedures.
Money meant to help the Indian community has allegedly been embezzled. And that's not the surprising part. The MACC is probing hundreds of companies, and that is just the tip of the iceberg.
The Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, or MACC, is currently digging into the records of some 205 entities that received funds from the Malaysian Indian Transformation Unit, or MITRA. So far, 17 individuals have been arrested for their involvement. According to inside sources, the anti-graft agency suspected that many of the companies have made false claims, including cooking up records for non-existent programs and activities. An anonymous source close to the investigation told Malaysia Kini that at the moment, investigators have only started looking into entities which received funds ranging from 1 million ringgit to 9 million ringgit. However, other companies that received less than 1 million ringgit will be investigated in due time. Established in 2017, MITRA, or then known as the Socio-Economic Development of the Indian Community Unit, or SEDAC, was set up to identify issues faced by the Indian community. They also carry out socio-economic development activities and coordinate public-private cooperation towards developing the community. Then, in 2018, the Transformation Unit was restructured and rebranded to be what it is known today when Pakatan Harapan took over the government. According to a Bernama report recently, it was estimated that MITRA received a budget of 100 million ringgit a year from the government.
A PKR MP whose name appeared in the Pandora Papers expose has explained why he decided to keep his precious money outside of the country.
PKR's Selayang MP, William Leong, has denied he was trying to avoid taxation by stashing funds offshore as highlighted in the Pandora Papers. Instead, he said, he chose to invest in offshore centres as the option was safer than the Malaysian market during the 1990s. In a virtual forum on the Pandora Papers hosted by the Centre to Combat Corruption and Cronyism last night, the MP said he had to protect his nest and egg to ensure he has enough money to provide his son with an education in private universities. This is as Malaysian public universities previously practiced a racial quota for its intakes. Leong claimed the fundamentals of the market were thrown off back in those days, saying many counters were extremely volatile with no proper regulation from authorities and so he needed a safer option. He added that other investment options in the country were not safe as well, as there was a property bubble during the time and many banks eventually fell. Leong believed that the Pandora Papers is part of a move by powerful nations to pressure other countries to sign an Organisation for Economic Cooperation and Development deal on taxation. The deal, signed by 136 countries and jurisdictions, ensured that multinational enterprises will be subjected to a minimum 15% tax rate from 2023.
That's a wrap for Kini News this evening. For more stories, you can go to kinitv.com. Don't forget to follow us on social media on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube and Facebook to get the latest news headlines as well. If you'd like to support the independent media, do consider a subscription to malaysiakini.com. When you're heading out, don't forget that mask, and when you can, do try to stay home. Join us here on Kini TV tomorrow as we bring you coverage of Budget 2022 right here on Kini TV tomorrow afternoon into the evening. I'm Daniel Anthony. Thank you for watching, and as always, stay safe, Malaysia.